order the public hearing regarding the annexation of property at 971 Milwaukee Avenue. May I please have a roll call?
Mayor Ford.
Present.
Trustee Clayton.
Here.
Trustee Eastman.
Here.
Trustee Jamerson.
Here.
Trustee Rath.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
And Trustee Trevino. Here. Have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Tonight, before we start the presentation of the annexation agreement, which is a continuation of the hearing from last time, I want to note that with all due respect, the village wishes to express our condolences to the Randy Risden family on his unexpected and untimely passing. And we will now take a moment to honor his service to his community. Tonight, we are hopeful that the presentations will address some of the concerns of our residents and the neighboring community. We're going to begin with an overview of the process and what we are focused on for tonight's business with our attorney, Hubbard. Next, we go through, refresh the review of the Plan Commission report. Director Witt will talk to us about that. We have with us this evening our village engineer, Smith, who will address the engineering issues, and we will also address traffic issues, Milwaukee Avenue in particular. So if we might begin with our attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a form that was passed out that says Quick Trip Annexation Timeline. I think there were some copies available. I don't know if most of you had a chance to get it, but prepared this mainly because in talking with staff, we kept realizing that we weren't always talking about the same thing. So I wanted to take an opportunity to get away from too many words and maybe a picture. And this was the best I could do. Trustee Trevino will appreciate my feeble attempt. Anyway, the purpose of the hearing tonight is to consider an annexation agreement. And at the end of the hearing, later on the agenda under new business, is an ordinance that would, if the board so chooses, pass the approval of the annexation agreement. That would enable the parties to sign the annexation agreement, at which point we basically are under a contract. And it's the one instance in Illinois zoning where a village can enter into a contract to specify zoning. And in the annexation agreement, the contract specifies that the property, once it is annexed, will be classified to the B1 neighborhood business district, and that once all of the necessary submittals are made, the property will be granted a special use for a gas station and a convenience store. So the annexation agreement spells that out. Of course, it also talks about the effort to obtain water for the property. The party's trying to get water from Buffalo Grove, if that works out. If not, various options for Quick Trip to provide an extension of water main from various village sources. It talks about how to provide sanitary sewer to the property. It talks about long-term maintenance obligations for some of those improvements on the property. There are a number of topics that are traditionally covered in annexation agreements. Quick Trip asked us in back and forth on drafting the annexation agreement to delay the actual annexing of the property until Quick Trip had acquired title. It's under contract. Both the owner of the property and Quick Trip were parties to the annexation agreement, so all the interested parties petitioned the village for annexation. After Quick Trip acquires the property, it'll tell us, and then ordinance number 2 would be an ordinance at a subsequent board meeting. It could be in June, depending on the timing of the acquisition. And then under that ordinance, the village would actually vote to annex the property. It's still subject to the annexation agreement, but the separate ordinance is needed to formally annex it into the village. There's a plat or a map of annexation, which is attached to the ordinance and gets recorded. At that point, the property would be zoned in the B1 district, but would not yet have final approval for the gas station. That's because it's had a preliminary site plan and all of the preliminary submittals. Under the regulations that govern this special use, Quick Trip then comes back to the Plan Commission for a technical review of the final plan elements to ensure that they did in fact meet all of the regulatory requirements. Once the Plan Commission reviews that, it passes the final plan up to the village board, and the village board then would approve the final plan, granting a special use. And as I've said to the parties, and maybe in the past here, the process of having the preliminary plan is to have as much of the material available as we need to evaluate that the property can be developed feasibly in accordance with applicable regulations. If our technical review had concluded that the property couldn't meet all of the regulatory requirements in any shape or form, there would be no reason to have preliminary approval. Preliminary approval doesn't mean that they have already made all of the submittals. Part of the process here is to have preliminary approval so that they can expend the money to acquire the property and undertake the engineering effort to develop the final plans. At the point that they do and it comes back to the board for final approval, the standard in our ordinance is that the board would approve the final plan if it substantially conforms to the preliminary plan. It's not simply a second totally free look. We've committed contractually in the annexation agreement that if the final plan substantially conforms to the preliminary plan, we'll approve it. That's the way we handled Thornton's. That's the way we've handled other mixed-use developments. It's a method of finding out enough detail to give preliminary approval, but then requiring the developer to spend the money for all the final plans before you give final approval. So that would be Ordinance 3. I put in dates here corresponding to it can be fairly soon that we adopt Ordinance 2 to annex the property. We won't do it tonight, but it could be in the next couple of meetings, depending on when they acquire the land. We know that there are a number of hurdles that Quick Trip has to go through to comply with all of the regulatory requirements. They have told us that getting some of the improvements through the watershed development ordinance could take 4 to 6 months. So therefore, this is a suggestion based on what they've told me as an indicated timeline of coming in for final approval sometime in November or December. That could change. The preliminary approval is valid for, I think, at least a year. So they have more time than that. But this is just an indication of what we think at this time the timing will be.
Thank you. Director Witt, if you'd like to do a review of the Plan Commission report for board, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Plan Commission did meet and they went through and reviewed the drawings that were submitted by Quick Trip. They did approve the preliminary site plan, but had certain conditions that they were looking to add to the approval of that plan, which would need to be taken care of and approved eventually by the village in order for the final plan to be approved. And those particular items were to, first of all, safeguard the on-site stormwater detention system by different measures that they have with regard to slope of the pavements, double-walled tanks for the tank storage, for the fuel storage systems, certain conditions for the piping, all of which would meet OSHA requirements, which are governed through the State Fire Marshal's office. To look for an enhanced native landscaping plan. Look to provide electrical vehicle charging stations. Look to provide sustainability initiatives above and beyond what Quick Trip already does within their building. Some of the things that they do is have a very rigorous recycling program. And they also have a building automation system which monitors the heating and cooling inside the building. Some of those sustainability initiatives might be things like solar panels that could be added to the project. At this point, we don't know where those would be located, but they have made a commitment to look toward those. Would also have a review of any traffic safety concerns that have been brought up for Milwaukee Avenue. And I understand that we do have a representative from the traffic engineer tonight that will be talking about those. We also, as part of this, as Trustee Hubert has indicated, there is a need to get into an agreement for how the water will be brought to the site, whether that is through agreement with the Village of Buffalo Grove or through the Village of Riverwoods is yet to be determined, but we're working on that. There's also a need for the sewer system to be solidified an agreement with the Village of Buffalo Grove. So there will be a lift station on the site, but that has to pump to an existing sanitary line. So those would be the conditions that the Plan Commission brought forth as part of an approval of the preliminary plan.
Thank you. Next, if our village engineer could please address some of those engineering issues, particularly water and so on. Thank you.
Good evening. We submitted a preliminary conceptual review letter to the village to implement as conditions for the design plans moving forward. Note, the current plans submitted to the village or any other entity were not final and require additional design and attention to meet current county requirements regarding the watershed development ordinance and any other agency standards. To summarize real quick, our conditions came back with kind of 4 key points. First, the underground fuel tank is a non-residential structure. This is allowed to be within the floodplain without adhering to the typical building requirements of being above the base flood elevation, since it's not a residential structure. Other parameters required for the underground fuel tanks are to be a double wall. This design is more protective than other previously legacy systems. Also, the design criteria required would be the double wall to provide secondary containment, electronic monitoring for early leak detection, corrosive resistant materials and coating, and federal and state regulations regarding installation, testing, and inspections that all ran through the state. For high water conditions, the tank will have an anti-buoyancy design to ensure tank stability. This is what we did for Thornton's as well. In regards to the stormwater quality control per the ordinance section 504.04 requires the use of hydrocarbon removal technology for all new hard surfaces. Hydrocarbon shall be removed prior to the discharge off-site. And part of the requirements is that the overflow design shall be incorporated that allows for the overflow points independent of the primary hydrocarbon treatment. This ensures that anything that comes above and beyond a standard rainfall event is still contained and it will still be removed prior to discharge of the site. Another component is that the proposed stormwater detention requires pumps, which are allowed and will need to be utilized due to elevation constraints. Key components are to provide redundancy and require maintenance and utilize dual pumps in emergency power generation. And again, a maintenance plan put in place to ensure that the pumps do not have at any point can turn off and cause any type of overflow situation. Lastly, this site will require to be submitted a request for a flood map amendment, which is a LOMA, which will require village and FEMA approval. This application will revise the flood hazard maps to show the primary structure out of the floodplain. This will be required prior to final permitting. So I'd just like to recap that this is not just a village approval and go forward. We also have to deal with IDOT for any improvements on Milwaukee. We have to deal with FEMA for getting the primary structure out of the floodplain and county approval for all the utility connections. So there are several more steps moving forward, but these will all be conditional into final design.
Thank you. Is our traffic representative from KLOA with us? And please state your name
Ali Crest,
and you're with.
Quick Trip Corporation.
Thank you.
It's not. Good evening, Louie Abuna, ABONAM with KLOA.
Thank you. Thank you.
And just wanted to start out first just on Quick Trip's perspective. We heard a lot of concerns about traffic. We did our due diligence. We were working with IDOT. We do have a traffic engineer here. A couple of things, just high level. I'll have Louie go into the details and just explain a few things. So we are adding 2 mast arms on Milwaukee, going east and westbound. We're also adding a right turn lane on Milwaukee to get into our site. And we're also doing crosswalks and sidewalks along Milwaukee. So we did take into account the concerns and we're mitigating as much as we can. But ultimately, it is IDOT's jurisdiction. So whatever they deem necessary for safety. That's what we have to follow. Thank you.
Yes.
So yes, Ali hit some of the highlights. So we started by doing the traffic study that looked at the impact of the proposed gas station on the operations of the intersection. So we took counts of the signalized intersection to understand the amount of traffic that traverses the intersection today, how the intersection operates. And then we took into account the traffic that the proposed quick trip convenience store would generate and how it impacts the intersection. And we have been coordinating with IDOT in terms of the design of the intersection and the improvements. So essentially, what we will have is a single access point into this site. It's going to be where the existing driveway is at the signalized intersection. It's going to be in alignment with Inverary Lane. The driveway alignment will be in accordance with IDOT's requirements. So it's going to be better than what it is today. The driveway will be widened. We'll have one inbound lane and two outbound lanes. There is already an existing southbound left turn lane on Milwaukee Avenue entering the site, so that will be maintained. We will be adding a northbound right turn lane that IDOT has asked to be lengthened, which we will be doing. Like Ali said, the traffic signal will be upgraded to install mast arms for both the exit for the site as well as for the Inverary Lane. So that's an improvement for the existing traffic to the west side. And there will be left turn arrows for both Inverary Lane as well as for the gas station. So cars that are making left into Milwaukee will have their own protected phase. We'll also be adding sidewalk crosswalks on the east leg of the intersection, so across the driveway, as well as on the south leg of Milwaukee Avenue. So pedestrians can now cross Milwaukee Avenue protected crosswalk. There'll be pedestrian signals with push buttons, so that will be activated by pedestrians when they want to cross Milwaukee. We'll be also building landing areas for the pedestrians on the southwest corner of the intersections. As they cross Milwaukee, there'll be a landing area for them. We will be providing a sidewalk across the frontage of our site. So it will be that sidewalk that allows for pedestrians crossing Milwaukee to be able to walk and if they want to visit the gas station for that reason. We will continue to coordinate with IDOT. We are in the design phase right now, so the next submittal would be addressing the comments that have been received, preparation of intersection design study, which is a more detailed geometric plan that shows how the lane configurations, the storage lanes, radiuses, driveway design, everything, making sure that it meets IDOT criteria. Once we get that approval, then we'll get into the phase two, which is construction documents, which includes the signal modification plans, roadway plans, anything that relates to work within IDOT's right of way for the purposes of obtaining ultimately the permit.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions at this point? Any questions? Yes, Trustee Jamerson, please.
So the left turn lanes, both north and southbound on Milwaukee, will be traffic actuated?
Yes, they are currently actuated. So the left turn arrow will be recalled when a car is waiting to make a left. But we're also adding left turn arrows for the eastbound and westbound direction. So cars coming out of the site will
okay.
trigger an arrow.
So all four directions will have traffic actuated left turn lanes? Okay.
Is there anything else? Okay, seeing no other questions at this point, we can move on to public comment. I will remind all present that the board has received written comments from the Inverary residents, Dimitri Skylark, and just recently from Manuel Huerta, and a video from Chad Beck. And I assume all of those gentlemen are in fact Inverary residents. Again, I remind you, it's 30 minutes total for public comment, and each presenter will have 3 minutes per person. Discussion on the part of the board will be held when the ordinance is brought forward at the regular board meeting, which will follow. It's on the agenda, unless the board wishes to comment or question earlier. The board may also decide to extend the public comment period, but at this point, and we will ask the board again if that would be their choice after the end of the commenting by those who have signed up to comment. So public comment, anybody wishing to step forth, please step forward. I'll just call on you. I'll just call on you. Okay. Okay. You'll state your name and
I'm Dmitry Skylark. I live on the Inver Lane. Mayor Ford, members of the board, members of the public, good evening, and thank you for the
you
opportunity.
might need to speak into the microphone a little
A bit
closer.
closer?
Thank
Okay.
you. Much better, much
You're
better.
gonna-
Thank you.
So can I ask that anyone who speaks also spell their first and last name for the,
Absolutely. For the records, Dmitry Skylark, Inver Lane,
spell your last name?
SKLYAROV. For the records. Thank you. So I
Please
live
start.
on Inver Lane. And as I'm opening the public part for tonight, I would like to explain the board and the rest of the member of the public what's on your table what's on the tables right now. So basically what we have tonight is a consolidated opinion of 3, even 4 neighborhoods. We run a survey, likely the most precise survey in the case like that. As for today, we've gathered 188 responses. Out of those 188 responses, 185 directly oppose the building of the Quick Trip gas station at this location. And I would like to have a comment that we do not oppose the development of the property. That lot, whatever could it be, we do not mind absolutely. But what's there, it's not perfect right now. It can be perfect if the board will make the right decision. So as of today, 65% of those who responded first heard about this proposal to the Inver Lane community, to us, neighbor to neighbor. Only 26% have received an official notice from the village, and 42% did not know that the public hearing was happening at all. The community did the outreach that the village did not, up to that degree. So as for today, 96% site oversaturation, 6 gas stations already operate in this corridor, about 1 square mile. 89% cited traffic at Milwaukee and Inver. 83% say this station serves pass-through drivers, not the people who live here. And 76% accept the property value to fall, which is important. In the complete briefing and the full survey report up to today's date are in front of each trustee, I believe, tonight. Every number I have given you is sourced and verifiable. Thank you. Now the neighbors will speak for themselves.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Judy Mendoza, Mendoza, and I live in the Country Green neighborhood of the Inverary community. I want to speak to one problem in the application. The traffic study in the board's packet does not match the project in the board's packet. The traffic study was prepared by KLOA and is dated April 4th, 2024. It was prepared for a convenience store of 5,312 square feet. The application the board is being asked to approve tonight is for a store of 6,445 square feet. That is a 21% increase in size. Trip generation, the number of vehicles the station is expected to attract in a peak hour, is calculated directly from building size. A 21% difference is not a rounding error. It's the kind of difference that moves intersections across levels of service thresholds that traffic engineers use. There is a second issue. I'm going to quote an October 2025 email from the project engineer in Midwest Design Group that came out in the FOIA production. Quote, I believe IDOT requested the skew of the drive to align with Inverary Lane across Milwaukee during initial discussions with the traffic engineer, end quote. That sentence is important. IDOT directed Quick Trip to align its driveway with the Inverary Lane intersection. Our neighbors across the street use that intersection to enter and leave their homes every day. There is no current crosswalk at that intersection. There is no pedestrian signal phase. The KLA study recorded 0 pedestrians in its counts. because there are no crosswalks. When a 24-hour convenience store is placed directly across from a residential community with children, pedestrian demand appears. That demand was never studied. There is a third issue, briefly. The Lake County Deerfield Road reconstruction project begins on Milwaukee Avenue in late 2026. It is a 2.5-year project. Quick Trip's construction period is roughly 8 months. The two will overlap. The KLOA study makes no mention of this. My request to the board is specific. Before executing an annexation agreement, require a supplemental letter from KLOA that covers 3 things: revised trip generation for the actual proposed building size, a pedestrian level of service analysis at the Inverary intersection given the IDOT directed driveway alignment, and a traffic model that accounts for the Deerfield Road reconstruction project period. With those 3 things, the board would be making a 2026 decision on a 2024 study of a different building. I respectfully ask the board to continue this hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board of this? Okay.
Hello, my name is Marta Griegel. Last name spelled Grigiel. I am also a resident of Inverary Lane. I would like the board to consider the timing and the process of this decision. On January 26th of 2026, an email was sent to the village attorney by Seth Cavarone, who represents the owner of the property that Quick Trip is buying. In that email, Mr. Cavarone informs Mr. Hubbard that Quick Trip is asked to extend the due diligence period in its purchase contract to May 1st. And he asks whether the annexation of River Roads can be completed substantially before that date. The second item is from February 13th. And this one I will quote: "If we can get any kind of reasonable preliminary assurance, I would rush to schedule the hearings." There are 2 of them, one before the Plan Commission on zoning, and then one before the Board on Annexation. The third item is a January 30th, 2026 email from Mr. Hubbard. That email reports that Lake County had just submitted a formal request to Buffalo Grove for water service. The Plan Commission hearing was held 10 weeks later. As of March 4th, the FOIA record shows Riverwoods reps were still speaking with Buffalo Grove to meet the village manager about water service. I've heard now what's been transpired and it's still in the works, but there is no official water commitment letter. I raise this not to criticize anyone. You're doing your due diligence, and you're representing the village's interests. My concern, or what I'm asking the board to weigh, is something different. The person who set the calendar is the buyer. It's a contract deadline, a deadline that based on the FOIA record had already been extended by the buyer 8 times before. The village is not a party to that contract. The village is not obligated to rush to meet those deadlines. A continuance to the next board meeting costs the village nothing. It costs the buyer the opportunity to ask for another extension. And it's reasonable to expect they will receive it. The community asking the board to take additional time to have all the information to be definitive and compliant, or to consider alternatives if annexed, because once the gas station is built, it's not a matter of if, but rather of when an accident and oversight may occur. That parcel would become a remediation site and would be difficult to replace. And some of the alternatives to consider have been in the packet handed over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Michael Mendoza, Mendoza. I'm not going to speak about the engineering or traffic studies. Others in the room know those subjects better than I do. You've just heard from them. I want to tell the board what it's like to live where I'm at. The homes in our community back directly onto Milwaukee Avenue. There's no buffer of business between the living room, my living room, and Milwaukee Avenue. No retail strips, no office park, nothing. Just my house, strip of lawn and fence into Milwaukee Avenue. There are children in our community. There's many children. The property across the street today is a small commercial site with an old one-room schoolhouse on it. It's quiet at night. The development that is being proposed tonight would be open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 8 fuel pumps, an illuminated canopy, and customer traffic at 2 in the morning. There's no crosswalk in Inverary Lane. There's no pedestrian signal. Children already cross Milwaukee Avenue on foot during the day. If a 24-hour convenience store is placed directly across from our street, I know, and the board knows, that children will cross Milwaukee Avenue at night on foot to get snacks. My neighbors have asked the board tonight for one simple thing. Before signing the annexation agreement, please take 2 additional weeks. Here are the answers to the questions the community has raised. A 2-week continuance does not harm the village, does not harm Riverwood's residents. It does not complicate a private contract between the buyer and the seller. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, trustees. My name
Move
is
it.
Diana.
Why don't you move this a
Gercheva.
little closer? So, yeah, thank you.
My name is Diana Gercheva. Last name spelled Gracheva. I'm 17. I'm a junior at Adla E. Stevenson High School. I've lived on Inverary Lane for, I believe, most of my life. And as a student, I'd like to say what I think about this case. First, the intersection. Milwaukee Avenue at Inverary Lane has no crosswalk and no pedestrian signal phase. I know we have just heard about improvements and the installation of crosswalks, but please hear this out. We already have tons of children and teens riding their e-bikes down the street. I'm pretty sure they'll want to go to the gas station to get some snacks. Just like me and my friends used to cross the street and walk to the 7-Eleven when it was still on the plaza. Regardless, it wasn't safe for anyone back then, and even now, it's even more dangerous because even if you install crosswalks, it's still a very busy street. Second, the crime. People drive by gas stations. They live here. If one needs cash, they can rob the gas station because this is likely the only business that holds cash and works 24/7. Other stores are different, but gas stations are known crime magnets. Third, the river. There's a trail. We walk it, we ride it on our bikes, and it's beautiful. When my parents were buying a house, the presence of the trail was one of the key factors of why we wanted to buy the house. Not only that, we know that no one wants to live near the gas station, and it is bad for the neighborhood and the property values. Finally, we want to have tables over there. Or, I mean, quick trip, we want to have tables over there. Tables will attract drinkers, and I am not sure if the gas station will be able to get rid of them. We want safety, not more opportunities for people and kids to get hurt. I'm asking the board to vote against this project. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Manuel Huerta, Huerta. I'm a resident of Inverary, and I am formally requesting here to express my opposition to the proposed gas station development. My concerns on both health considerations and existing concentration of gas stations in close proximity to residential areas. There are already 5 gas stations within a mile radius, and even like 4 within half a mile or less from my house. Cumulative impact, this is the key issue. Gasoline vapors contain benzene, which the International Agency for Research of Cancer classifies as non-human carcinogen. While individual stations may comply with regulations, my concern is cumulative exposure. Multiple stations, multiple vapor emission sources, repeated fueling activity, tankers delivery and traffic. Fire and safety risk. In addition to air concerns, gas stations introduce inherent fire and safety risk due to storage and handling of flammable fuels. Fuel tanker deliveries, underground storage, vehicle-related ignition success, spills, or leaks in areas. In Illinois, we use self-dispense oil fuel, which introduces additional human risk factor. Given the existing density of gas stations already serving the area, the close proximity to residential neighborhoods, the incremental exposure and safety considerations associated with additional facilities, this proposal represents redundant infrastructure, unnecessary increase in cumulative exposure risk, a use of incompatible with nearby residential character. I just would like you to picture this. If you have your house, because my house is just right there in the Milwaukee Avenue, and in front of your house, somebody goes and develop a gas station. I could think that maybe, I don't know if someone in this room can picture that thought, where kids can no longer, freely ride their bikes because probably the avenue will have to be widened and part of the land or houses are just right there by Milwaukee Avenue. I would love that you guys consider the human aspect of this and prioritize it over the economic benefits of the village. I mean, this is a long-term, home for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
My name is Jim Heidner, and my unit is directly across from the proposed development. And
Spell your name, please.
she knows how to spell it. I'm sorry. And I can't believe you're even considering putting a gas station across from a residential area. That's not a good plan at all. Besides the fact that it's going to damage our property values, it does significant damage to the views out the windows and what we would see, what we would hear. I know the light is conditioned so it doesn't go off the site, but it'll have a glow and you will be able to see that glow from across the street where my unit is. And the area is overpopulated with service stations right now. You have from Lincolnshire down to Lake Cook Road, there will be 10 service stations if you approve this one being the 10th. There's no need for that many in this small of an area. It's highly, what you're going to do is cannibalize sales from the other units, even your new Thorntons. This development first came to Lake County. It did not come to Riverwoods. It came to Lake County first. I'm not sure if the petitioner withdrew or the county rejected it, but the county did cite some very valid points from the public meeting that was held about a year ago. They said the property is completely, and I'm going to read a little bit of that report. The property is completely covered by floodplain. Floodway covers the eastern fifth of the property. And while the project currently designed met the requirements of the ordinance, it did not follow best manufacturing practices to locate a filling station on a constructed fill pad immediately adjacent to regulatory floodway at the edge of a navigable waterway. The applicant's engineering design has not satisfactorily demonstrated that the risk of flood inundation has been appropriately addressed for the intended use of the site. They also cite that this project would have significant long-term and short-term maintenance concerns based upon the current design. Now, I talked to the petitioner after the last meeting, and they mentioned that they had the water storage under the ground, and they would have pumps that would activate when they needed to. But they did not have a fallback. If the electricity was out, those pumps are going to fail. And the county had a concern with that as well. The suggestion that they would have, they told me this, that they would run out and get a generator. Have you ever tried to get a generator when everybody else is flooding?
Sir, we reached 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Sarah Merritt, Merritt, and I am with the Riverwoods Preservation Council. The Riverwoods Preservation Council strongly opposes the proposed gas station as it conflicts with the community's environmental values and long-term sustainability goals. At a time when many municipalities are reducing, sorry, I am so nervous. I don't do public speaking. Terrified. As many municipalities are working on reducing the reliance on fossil fuels and expanding infrastructure that supports them, it's a step back. Gas stations carry an inherent environmental risk. Underground storage tanks can leak over time, contaminating soil and underground water. This is an especially serious concern for the residents who rely on Riverwoods well water. The proposed site location is in a 100-year floodplain, which further increases the risk of fuel leaks spreading to nearby ecosystems and residential areas. The project may also require extending water infrastructure beneath the Des Plaines River, which could disrupt aquatic habitats, displace sediment, and introduce contamination risks. Any failure to such infrastructure would significantly harm the river and water quality. Operational impacts are also concerning. Increased traffic, idling, and litter can degrade air quality and the natural character of the community. Without strict oversight, such sites often become an ongoing source of pollution. If the village moves forward despite these concerns, stronger safeguards are essential. These should include meaningful penalties for leaks and spills, strict maintenance and waste standards, and enforceable accountability measures. The development should also contribute to annual local environmental initiatives to help offset its impact. More importantly, Riverwoods should prioritize infrastructure aligned with a cleaner energy future, such as solar power and energy efficient design, rather than expanding fossil fuel use. With multiple gas stations already nearby, this proposal is unnecessary and contradicts the village sustainability and climate action plan and comprehensive plan, both of which emphasize protecting natural resources. Instead, Riverwood should attract environmentally responsible development that supports its commitment to conservation. Finally, adding another gas station introduces avoidable risk, undermines sustainability goals, and fails to reflect the community's dedication to preserving its natural environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
Lori Breitkopf, Breitkopf. I echo all of the comments of the Riverwoods Preservation Council. In particular, the Sustainability and Climate Action Plan that the village just approved specifically contemplates reduction of fossil fuel use. As you know, the Sustainability and Climate Action Task Force worked continuously for 1 year to create this plan and to bring it to the board for a successful and unanimous vote. 4 of the current 6 village trustees served on the Sustainability and Climate Action Task Force. The village is sending an inconsistent message to its residents by disregarding the objectives and goals of our new Sustainability and Climate Action Plan almost immediately after its adoption. Through consideration of the addition of another gas station in the village, the 7th gas station in a 1-mile stretch of Milwaukee Avenue and in a floodplain, no less. Residents and the environment deserve a more thoughtful alternative to this questionable proposed use. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? Public comments? Okay, seeing that, does the board wish to extend the period? Okay, seeing, again, discussion on the part of the board can be held if the board chooses when the ordinance is brought forward on the board agenda at the board meeting following under new business. So with this, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
Sorry, say again?
Yes.
Conclude the public hearing. Yes. Motion to conclude. Is there a second?
A motion to
Yes,
conclude.
second.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, public hearing is now closed. And we can take a quick break if you'd like. Otherwise, we'll jump right into it. We're jumping right into it. Okay, that I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Riverwoods. Will you stand with me and say the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Ford.
Present.
Trustee Clayton.
Here.
Trustee Eastman.
Here.
Trustee Jamerson.
Here.
Trustee Raff.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
And Trustee Trevino.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, first order of business is approval of the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a trustee so requests. In that event, the discussion will be the first item of business after the approval of the consent agenda. Is there anything a trustee wishes to pull from the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Raff.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Motion passes.
At this point, I would like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda, moving new business item 15A to moving it forward to be taken up prior to our finance director's report. The item 15A is what we've all been waiting for that I need to, no. Item 15A is approval of an ordinance authorizing an agreement for the annexation of the Sale Barn Square property to the Village of Riverwoods. Do I have a motion to approve, to amend the agenda, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I think we need a roll call for this.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Raff.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, again, the item we are taking up right now is approval of an ordinance authorizing an agreement for the annexation of the Sale Barn Square property to the Village of Riverwoods. May I ask our village attorney to please
Well,
view and state? Thank you.
the ordinance has the annexation agreement attached as an exhibit. You have the full text of the annexation agreement in the packet. I'd like to just point out a few changes that were made in the body of the annexation agreement since the first hearing. They're marked in blue. Let's see, that would be page 36 of the packet. For everyone to get there. Got it? So as you see in section 2, it says upon execution and conveyance of the property to the developer, then the village will enact an ordinance annexing the property and classifying it to the B1 district. Then in section 3 comes the next part. The village approves the documents that constitute the preliminary plan. I'm not reading verbatim for the audience. After annexation of the property, the developer shall observe the requirements for processing the final development plan as described in our zoning ordinance. Developer acknowledges that enhancements to the preliminary site plan may be required by the village in accordance with applicable laws, regulations, and ordinances to safeguard the operation of the on-site stormwater detention system, provide for enhanced landscaping, electrical vehicle charging stations, and sustainability initiatives. It goes on to say that if the final plan substantially conforms to the preliminary plan and complies with all applicable laws, regulations, and ordinances, then after they've submitted the final plan, the village would approve it, incorporating the conditions to such special use as may be specified in the final development plan. So in this change here, we've attempted to capture the significant conditions that the Plan Commission had mentioned. And if there was any other condition that the board wanted to specify now is just, this was the idea of this language was to alert Quick Trip as to what we're contemplating, specifying in greater detail. Typically, when we grant a special use, as you've seen in other special uses of the village, there'll be a laundry list of conditions that help mitigate against various things that the village board is concerned about. Again, there's a sort of a reasonableness standard in all of that, but part of the reason for calling out these particular ideas was to make it clear to everyone, we have those in mind and we have every right to discuss those and impose those. And in fact, Quick Trip itself has said that they're open to including electrical vehicle charging stations, enhanced landscaping we would probably do as part of our review because the buffering around the detention has to meet the watershed development ordinance. So I just want to point this out to the board. There's, as you know, there's lengthy discussions in the annexation agreement about the various means of trying to get water and sewer and so forth. So I'll stop there unless you have a question.
Is there any discussion on the part of the board? Anybody have any questions? Trustee Clayton, please.
I just want to make sure I'm crystal clear on this. If I thought it was of value to have the property within the village, but I was against the gas station, I should vote in favor of the annexation agreement.
Well, the annexation agreement is an understanding between the parties that have executed it. And what we say here, as I've just pointed out, is that we've said the preliminary plan is generally acceptable and that the final development plan will be approved if it substantially conforms to the preliminary plan. So there's nothing that obligates you as an individual trustee to vote for the final development plan, but I would advise the board as a whole that not approving the final plan, if it substantially conforms to the preliminary plan, could expose the village to a legal challenge. So if you're in favor of annexing the property, but not necessarily the plan, I can't tell you what to do, but I can explain to you the legal posture of the parties once we've signed the annexation agreement.
Trustee Jamerson, please.
With the change that you made to paragraph 3 that you were just talking about, it says provide for enhanced landscaping, electrical charging stations, and sustainability initiatives. Does provide mean that they have to do that? Or does it mean, and I'm specifically talking about the electric vehicle charging station. You can provide for a station, but not install a station. And I realize that there's a Tesla charging station down the street, but not everybody can use a Tesla charger. And I can vouch for that because I have an electric vehicle and I can't use that station. Not that I would because I have one at home, but I think it's important to have them actually install a level 3 charging station as opposed to provide for the installation. As an electrical contractor, I can tell you that if someone said I want to provide for it, I would put a circuit breaker in the panel that could handle it. I've provided for it.
Would you be more comfortable if the word said and install instead of provide for? And then when it got to electrical charging stations, I don't think we'd ever gotten to the level of detail of level 2 or 3, but is that
level 3 is worthless to someone who's going to be driving down the road.
Level 2, you mean, is
a level 2 is worthless because it takes 5 hours to charge your car. Level 3, you can typically do it in half an hour or less.
Okay. Well, do you want to suggest making that change to install instead of provide for? And
I would like to see it say and provide for enhanced landscaping.
Furnish and install.
Furnish and install electrical vehicle charging station or one or two. And then I don't know how you handle the and sustainability initiatives, if that's before or after, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Does anybody else understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I think
as long as somebody does.
Can Quick Trip comment on feasibility of a level 3 charging station? I don't remember ever discussing that, but I understand from what our trustee is saying.
Yes, so on our site plan, we're actually are planning on installing electric charging stations.
A level 3. The level 2 does nobody any good. And I realize that a level 3 is much more expensive and it's going to change the size of your electrical service. I understand that.
You know, I believe it is a high quality. I don't know exact level. I'm not an expert in that, but I will make sure it is at least a level 3.
Well, that's as high as it goes.
Okay, and then
Then for now, yeah.
Yes, I'm fine with accepting
With
that
that
condition.
modification?
Mhm.
Installation, not just simply providing, but and
Yes, installation.
Okay.
Okay. That's
Trustee Smith, please.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mayor Ford, as you may recall, I did send an email back in, I think, July last year that specified a number of sustainability initiatives that we'd like to have addressed. One is the EV charging that we had identified as a quote unquote requirement. We also asked for solar panels to reduce energy usage. We wanted to make sure that dark skies was fully enforced isn't the right word, but you get the idea that dark skies was a significant consideration and that would be adhered to. We also talked about smart use of rainwater, native landscaping, so not just enhanced landscaping, but enhanced perhaps native landscaping. We also talked about green demolition, so of like current property, trying to make sure we put as little in the landfill as possible, and then green building, eco-friendly, not to rehash everything, but there's a lot of stuff. My point is there's a lot of stuff that we asked for in the sustainability, and I'm a little concerned by it just saying, and other sustainability initiatives.
Let me just comment where I can on the native landscaping. And Carissa, you may have to back me up here. The detention area now under the watershed development ordinance has to be buffered with native landscaping. And most of that area, once you get east of the building, is just going to be open. So, you know, in my reading of it, we were going to simply require that they consult with Steve Zimmerman and basically come up with a plan for the back of that area. I think that's what I was intending by enhanced landscaping. Is there more, Carissa, that I'm missing about the WDO?
Yeah, and it's an underground tank, so it's not like we're trying to actually shield it, but I concur with your statement that we work with the village ecologists and come up with an appropriate plan for the native initiative to make sure that that's all installed. But since it's underground tank, there's not really anything the WDO that comes in and says that you need X, Y, Z.
What about the area in the back that is, it's sort of it's a floodplain, in the back. Is any of that area going to be touched?
They'll be using it for comp storage. So there'll be a depressional area and we can work with the ecologist to put in the appropriate plans like we've done for other sites.
Well, that's what I meant. That depressional area has to be buffered with native landscaping, right?
Yeah, so we would work with the ecologist to make sure that they do the appropriate seed plans.
Let me just mention a few others and then ask them to respond. It's really there's a brochure in here where they talk about their sustainability initiatives, which is basically for energy usage, monitoring it to be efficient. Our ordinance requires that demolition go to a construction, that we take construction materials. We already have an ordinance that requires that they comply with that. So that happens. I can't speak to rainwater. They'll have to address that, collecting rainwater. And other building green elements, I think they should address that. What else?
Dark skies. We pretty much cover that already with our ordinance.
Well, there's a photometric plan. Gas stations can't operate with dark skies completely because of safety. They have to have a certain amount of lighting. With Thornton's, we worked with them to reduce, it may not seem that way, but we worked with them to reduce the lighting so that it was at an appropriate level for safety, but not overbearing. And that's part of what we'll do in the photometric review. But I don't, And all of the Thornton fixtures, for example, they did comply with being downcast. We would do the same. You know, they are shielded. But in terms of the, I don't know if I could say that a gas station would be dark sky compliant, but we tried to observe that with the Thorntons. So do you want to address any of the green building perspectives and solar panels and some of the other stuff? Not really for me to know what you're going to do.
Thank you. For landscaping, we don't have an issue with that. We're willing to work with the village on whatever it takes to get the landscaping condition met. For solar, again, that's not something that scares us away. Typically, we use solar in the south. Rain or the sun is constantly shining in the south, so you get more energy that way. That's not. We'll definitely look into it. I can't commit to solar tonight, but that's something that we're not against. For what was other?
May I insert myself here for a moment? Just calling to everybody's attention that later on in our agenda, we have a proposal for sustainability consulting services. And the person that we have interviewed and that we are recommending, and I'm looking at Trustee Smith because he was very involved with it and he will be taking that lead a bit later. But we are hiring a sustainability consultant. And if you would agree to a review and a development of a plan with our sustainability consultant, I think that that might go a little ways with this discussion. Am I hitting? Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely sit down with the.
I mean, I think that the key point, Mayor Ford, as you mentioned, and thank you for addressing rainwater and your willingness to look at those things. Assuming this goes through, we just want to make sure that you are as eco-friendly as possible, understanding that you are dealing in fossil fuels.
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand that. So
absolutely, and we want to do our best to be sustainable as well. And on the rainwater comment, so we do have sensors on our sprinkler system. So if it does rain, we do not turn the sprinkler system on, and that's automatically through a sensor.
So perhaps maybe some language about a sustainability review. Does that make?
I think village approved sustainability review or something like that.
Trustee Raff, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was one of the 4 current trustees who was on the Sustainability Committee, though I was not a trustee at that time. And, I understand we would do everything we can to make this a sustainable gas station. However, going back to the year or so we sent on that Sustainability Committee, it seemed like we were looking for projects of a different direction. And, does this meet the goals of the village? Is my question.
Is there any other questions or comments from the trustees? Oh, Trustee Eastman, please.
I assume that this is the appropriate time. If this isn't, my question here, my observation isn't necessarily ordinance specific, but it's definitely pertinent to the broader how the development would fit in. So I would just add that my concern is, we already have a Thornton's in the village. We have a mobile station that is a dubious financial situation. Okay, but there have been concerns or things that have been expressed about the challenges, I think, in terms of paying fuel taxes and other things like that over the years. So my concern is, do we have any sense of how this, and I drive by, every morning dropping my son off to school, 2 abandoned marathon stations in Northbrook. Do we have any sense, or is there a way to study, and I don't know the answer, how this might impact our existing gas stations understanding that there are others on Milwaukee that are not in the village, but specifically in the village, because I certainly would want to, ideally, I would like to understand the risk of how this might impact those stations before approving another one.
You're looking for an economic analysis is what?
I don't even know if that's possible, but if it is possible and it's easy to do and, not horrendously time consuming, I would like to ensure that this does not, drastically damage what we have because of not so much, not that I'm as concerned about, their financial viability, but I am concerned about those properties when abandoned can be very difficult to redevelop. So in my mind, this has to meet a higher standard than something that, wouldn't be would be a little bit easier to reutilize if this, were not to work out financially.
I mean, I would want to ask Quick Trip, if you have any data that you haven't shared with us so that you can share on what your analysis of where your market share will come from. I mean, we may have to do our own study, but have you looked into this question? Can you respond to this?
So when it comes to our share, the traffic is there. It's currently present. Now we don't know how much, say Thornton's, we don't know how much people are going to Thornton's are going to come to us. That's going to be very difficult to tell. But we go based off existing traffic that's there.
Okay.
Trustee Jamerson, please.
I would like to comment, though. I don't think that Thornton's may have an effect on the mobile station. I don't believe this will have an effect on the mobile station because people going by this station are not the people that are going down Deerfield Road. They're going up and down Milwaukee.
Fair, but I think there is some impact, right? I mean, it's a similar.
The people that are stopping at the mobile station don't care what the price of gas is.
Oh, understood.
They're going to stop there regardless.
Understood. My bigger concern would be the
allegedly
impact on the viability of what we already have with the Thorntons.
Right.
That would be my concern. Yeah, and if there's any way to quantify that, that would make me feel more comfortable. If
I was just talking about the mobile station because you brought it up. I just don't think it's going to affect them.
Fair.
It very well may affect Thornton's.
But anything that would get me more, comfortable with the idea that there's a market that's big enough for all of these stations to coexist. I don't know if that's possible.
Trustee Clayton, please.
Just a question for Quick Trip. What % of the new installations that you do fail?
None.
So you've closed those stations?
Well, we've closed stations to generally, in the past, we closed stations to relocate right across the street because it's a better position. At the time, it wasn't an opportunity for us to build there, so we'll close and we'll, in a situation like that, go across the street. But, what's unique about Quick Trip is that, look at the multiple different places that we have closed. We mitigate what we do. We take our underground tanks out, and most of those older, obviously specifically the older generation Quick Trips, have been around since the 1980s, and now we've upgraded to a different generation. Most of those are going to be your dental office or some sort of medical office or the office space. So it is reusable. We have multiple different examples that shows that. And then for the market itself, whenever we pick a site, we don't pick a site to fail. We believe that there's sufficient market economics for us to be prosperous along with everybody else.
Trustee Trevino, please.
Yes, I guess the question that I have is, since you've done studies before and you've opened up very successful stations around the country, have you looked at those in particular? Yes, you're looking for the traffic flow, and that's what you're saying. That's for your target audience. That's also the target audience for all the other stations. So I don't know if you look at cannibalization or if you look at some of the other things that you offer that the other stations don't offer to that you attract other people, or if you have studies in the past, when you're coming in and there's, 5 or more other stations, how is it that you do? I'd be interested to see, if you have any of that insight, because that's kind of what you're walking into here.
Right, absolutely. And when it comes to that, we do look at the feasibility of the market. Those stations are already established. So we're not going into a place where we know that we're not going to be successful or the economic feasibility is not present. We're not going to hope for more traffic to come. The traffic is already present. And the nature of our business is you have to go where traffic is. It's not a destination, it's more of a traffic capture.
So are you grabbing additional consumers that don't go to these other stations, or are you cannibalizing just from them?
No, will there be current customers that go to different gas stations? They'll come to us. Absolutely. We do have a very strong brand recognition. We believe we're top tier when it comes to our industry. But we believe most of the traffic that's going to come to us, it's either going to be passed by traffic that's currently going in that direction.
Does the board feel it has enough information to vote? As this is an ordinance, is there a motion to waive first reading? Seeing none, seeing nothing from the board, I think that we're back at the drawing board, it sounds like, and we need more information in order for even a waiving motion to be made.
Well, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there a reason why we can't have a first reading?
No.
You asked for a motion to waive first reading.
Oh, okay, well, all true.
I will
because
make a
that's kind
motion
of the second.
for the first reading.
For first reading? Okay, all right. Is there a second motion for a first reading of this ordinance?
Second.
Good point, thanks. Okay, I think we do need a roll call on this.
Trustee Jamerson,
Aye.
trustee Raff,
Aye.
Smith,
Nay.
trustee Trevino,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
No.
trustee Eastman.
No.
It's 3-3.
You would break the tie, however.
Oh, my
The
God.
actual ordinance is going to require 2/3 of the vote, so you could break the
So
tie
it-
in the first reading, but when you get to the actual ordinance, you need 5 votes. So I don't know if, I'm just mentioning what the requirement will be.
I don't believe I've ever found myself in this situation. A refusal of the first reading means
Well, is the board, since,
won't listen to the first reading.
well, it means that we can either tell the petitioner, come back with more information. If we don't have, if the first motion for first reading fails, then we can tell the petitioner to come back with more information. We can tell.
Okay, no.
So the
break the
motion
tie
for
with a
first
no.
reading fails.
Yeah. So it fails.
What would you like to
So the
vote?
petitioner can revise its petition. Obviously, there's more information that the board is looking for. Economic analysis is one. I think a little bit more specificity on the sustainability issues, and certainly more specificity on the needing of the electric vehicle charging issue. I think we've got engineering issues that have been dealt with. I think we see the traffic. We've heard a little bit about the traffic study, but I think we need more information on the traffic study. Trustee Smith.
Could we also get a projection of a noise study for the, so the traffic noise that it would be generated if there's any additional traffic noise?
Well, I think, yeah,
is that part of the traffic study?
yeah, I would think so.
Do
Is
you
there more
mean
traffic
traffic
or not?
circulating within the site or on Milwaukee Avenue?
Well, more the impact to our friends on Inverary. I don't know if that's possible, just, I think that'd be a nice thing to know.
I mean,
Traffic generator, it's not a destination.
Milwaukee Avenue, if I remember the latest data, maybe Chris knows, has about 65,000 cars a day.
So if it doesn't change the number of cars, the noise doesn't change.
I mean, there's probably, somewhere in there, there's probably like something that doesn't move the needle until you get to a certain point is what I'm thinking.
Okay. All right, never mind.
Okay. We'll return to our agenda. And the next item on the agenda is the Finance Director's report.
Can you just tell?
Oh, sure.
Thank you, Mayor Ford.
If you have now heard what you needed to hear and are planning to leave, if you would like to leave,
I was going to
please
offer
feel
the
free to
opportunity
do
if
so.
anyone
We have
doesn't
a
want to
lot
hear
of
my
other
report.
interesting things going on here in the village, but I'm guessing like 90% of you are not residents. So if you're going to discuss what's going on here, please don't be in the foyer because it echoes inward. So thank you so much.
You're welcome to stay.
Yeah, they're welcome to stay. You have to stay.
Can't get rid of you.
Yeah. Sarah, you can leave. Sarah, goodbye.
I can't believe you're not a good public speaker when you
Teacher, okay.
I've been accused of hacking.
All right.
So now that the Finance Director has lost his audience,
Thank you, Mayor Ford. I have a few items for tonight's report. I have some good news about the DCEO grant for the recent Saunders Road water main replacement project. The state is in the final stages of processing for this grant, which began when we submitted paperwork last spring. We anticipate that this can be closed out in the next 30 days. The grant was for $200,000, which would go back to our water fund. At our last board meeting, I reported that I worked with Mayor Ford to draft a letter of request for another grant opportunity. This would be for the water reservoir rehab project happening later this year. We budgeted approximately $295,000 for that project in the water fund in 2026. We received an update from Representative Bob Morgan's office that our project was successfully included in this year's annual appropriations request from Representative Morgan in the amount of $250,000. It should be noted that district appropriations such as this are subject to the final passage of the state budget, which is expected to happen by the end of May. So please keep your fingers crossed that our request makes it to the finish line. Mayor Ford and I recently met with our representative over at LRS, the company that provides refuse and recycling for the village. We began discussions towards renewing the current contract, which ends later this year. We also discussed the possibility of adding additional programs such as composting options, an annual special spring cleanup, a leaf pickup program, and providing a way for residents to recycle batteries here at the Village Hall. Village staff also recently met with staff at the Deerfield Park District. We discussed logistics for the planned Fall Fest event in October this year. We also discussed getting some guidance for appropriate maintenance plans for our play area and pathways here at the Village Hall. At our Committee of the Whole discussion last year to discuss water rates, I spoke about looking for a firm that could provide us with a water rate analysis. The analysis would look at our existing infrastructure and future replacement needs and help us develop a plan for what the rate structure should look like in the next 10 years. Our county manager gathered some data on firms used by other municipalities in recent years for this type of work. We have identified 1898 and Company, a part of Burns McDonnell, as a firm that we would like to talk to about a rate analysis. At this point, we are just looking for an initial discussion to help us narrow the scope of work necessary and any data that we can collect internally to aid in our analysis. I hope to have an update at a board meeting in the near future on this topic. And that's all I have for tonight.
are there any questions for our Finance Director? Trustee Jamerson.
Of course. When you're talking, I know you said you've already talked to LRS, but when you talk to them again, We used to have the ability to have residents bring fluorescent lamps to the village. And since every fluorescent lamp is full of mercury, I think it would fit our sustainability program if we had them pick up the fluorescent lamps. There's probably not that many out there anymore, but the little compact fluorescent lamps are real easy to throw out, and they have just as much mercury as the 4-foot-long tubes. So they used to do it when it wasn't LRS. I mean, I don't remember who the waste handler was at the time, but there used to be a collection box in the vestibule. So maybe we can check with them on that.
When we
All that mercury in the vestibule.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well,
he did mention a bulb
well, we could put it in
program.
Wendy's office. I mean, that'd be okay too.
He did mention a bulb program, and this discussion happened shortly before we drafted final paperwork towards the initiative later for the sustainability coordinator. So I think that tying up those types of projects would be something that we would have that person move forward with if the board does decide to approve that tonight.
I'd appreciate it because I know that there's a lot of places where you can take batteries. For instance, my wife takes them, I think, to Walgreens of all places. Yeah, and so there's places you can recycle almost all the rest of the stuff that you talked about, except there's no place that will take fluorescent tubes. And so people throw them in the trash.
Right.
And that's really bad.
No, we'll
It's
certainly
bad on a
explore
couple-
that.
It's bad on a couple of reasons, because when they put them in the can, half the time they stick out and they get broken, and then there's mercury all over the ground around them. So
No, we'll add that to the list.
I think Swalco takes them.
yeah, but you have.
Well, I know, but you have to drive to Highland Park.
Yeah. Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions for our finance
Take
director?
your electric car and drive to Highland Park.
Moving on. The treasurer's not with us this evening. Director of Community Services report, Director Witt, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just 2 items tonight. As you know, that Verizon is under contract for establishing their cell site over at Ravinia Green. Just to let you know that they are moving forward on the project. Their consultants about 2 weeks ago actually did testing for the paint for lead. I don't have a written report from them, but I believe everything went okay with that, because as of today, their consultants were at the water tower mapping out existing conditions, which is really the precursor for developing plans and structural calculations that need to understand what's exactly there for them to work with and how they're going to run their cables and mount their antennas. So that project will be moving forward. The other piece is the board previously gave direction for staff to inform IDOT that the village would support IDOT contracting with Builders Paving, if you remember. This morning, we were contacted by IDOT to have the previous project agreement paperwork that was signed back in 2024 by the mayor to re-sign that for submittal to their Springfield office. The mayor did sign the paperwork. It did get copied to Springfield. We were told that it was very likely that as of today, IDOT would award the contract to Builders Paving. However, we have not gotten confirmation of that as of about 7 o'clock this evening. So I'm expecting to hear something better on that tomorrow. So it looks like we will have a project. Don't ask me what the time frame is going to be. That'll all settle out once as I know that would be asked. Once we hear from them, then obviously then we get to get into the negotiations on when they actually are going to start the project. So just wanted to let you know that there is movement and it continues to look positive. That's all I have.
Are there any questions or comments for our director? Trustee Eastman, please.
Just one comment, Steve. Don't forget the Lake Cook pothole patching as part of our annual. I know that's my pet peeve, but there's a few big ones going in both directions. So I'm sure that takes some time, but I appreciate you doing that.
All right, Lake Cook patching. Okay, got it.
There's hardly any road left. Is there anything else, Trustee Clayton, please.
I know you've been very busy, but where are we on the sidewalk, Tesca? Do we have some kind of a target date that we're going to?
Port Wine Road?
Talking for Port Wine Road?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, so the last presentation that Tesca put together that we were at the COW, that was their final presentation. They have given us some mildly updated drawings. We do have those. And as Trustee Raff and I met last week, was it last week or was it this week? I think it was last week. The next decision really is to whether or not, this, after seeing what the potential for this project is, we really need to know, is this a project that the board is looking to move forward with? Today, tomorrow, next year, what this might be, where it is on priorities for capital improvement projects. Are we looking at something that, is do the whole thing at one time, look at maybe getting cost estimates to break it down into different phases? Certainly the drawings that we have at this point, there are things that have been done to save money with regard to not actually constructing the physical boardwalk in certain areas, particularly here along the Village Hall campus. But I've got to send that out back to WB Olson to see if we can get some better pricing on it for guesstimates at this point. So the next step would be really to decide, is this a project to move forward with? Once we have that, then it would need to go into an engineering phase to either have something that goes straight out to bid or something that we can search for grant money on. But in the meantime, we have all the ability to look for grant money, to kind of merge the two issues.
Okay. So what's the process for the board deciding that this is a project we want to move forward with?
I would think we'd need the estimates first. We'd want to know how much. And I think that that could either be at a committee of the whole, or we could do it at a board meeting and just have a preliminary discussion at a board meeting. Yep.
All right, well then I will secure bids perhaps in a couple of different ways. The full length, maybe from here to Deerfield, or, I would suggest that from Deerfield southward is probably going to get more activity than anything from Deerfield northward. And then the other question would be is, do we want to just take that and loop into Village Hall and have the rest of the second part from here to the Forest Preserve District as maybe a potential add-on to it? We'll look at it in a couple of different ways and we'll report back. Might take 2-3 weeks to get some numbers.
Trustee Jamerson, please.
I happen to notice that Baby Vegas is now open for business. They do not have a sign up, but they do have a flashing open sign in the window.
Which will be removed because I told them they can't have it. But they do have a sign up.
Well, they didn't when the very last time I went by, which was last Thursday. So I apologize. I missed that. Speaking of signs, Discover is now Capital One, in case you didn't notice.
As of Saturday, Capital One across the globe changed everything from Discover to Capital One.
Are they going to change the name of the drive to Capital One Drive? Or is it going to stay Discover?
It's Capital something. I don't.
It's a good question.
They are changing the name of the street. They've asked this for quite some time ago. I don't know. I drove by the sign, the base sign, the monument sign today. I did not look to see whether or not they changed the name of the street, but my guess is since they were trying to do the global rebrand after talking with the gentleman that's in charge of that globally, he said Saturday, come heck or high water, it was happening whether they had permits from anybody or not, though they got the permits from us, but they didn't in Chicago. So they're up against Chicago, whatever.
Good luck with that.
Retribution they have to deal with there. But my guess is that the sign on the street's probably been changed as well.
Yeah, I mean, their address is 2500 Lake Cook Road. So it really doesn't affect anything other than the street sign on both Saunders and Lake Cook.
It's just a vanity name.
I know. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, moving on. Attorney's report. Attorney Hubbard, please.
I had a call today with a brokerage firm that has been engaged, they said, by the owners of the landfill parcel to take it out to market, which I thought it was out to market. But, and these are some of the people in the brokerage firm, I think I've probably spoken with about the property in years past, so they're very familiar with it. They told me that residential is probably not on the table for that site. They wanted to know why other industrial proposals had failed, and I explained why. And I told them the village really would like to see some retail along Milwaukee Avenue. So they're going to, not taking that one up. I'm not falling for that one. They're going to be working with putting together a brochure. They'll let us see what they put together, but they're still trying to market the property. I guess that's what I'm trying to tell the board.
Can I make a comment?
Trustee Jamerson.
Can I make a comment
have a
about
comment.
that piece of property? I've been on the board 14 or 15 years now. And when I came on the board, Sherry Gradator said that come hell or high water, before she left the board, she would see that parcel annexed into the village.
Right.
That was 14 years ago. And we as a board, many different boards I've sat on, all said it was imperative that that piece of property come into the village. And the reason was because we wanted to control how it was developed. And I'm glad to hear that residential might be off the table, because I really think that if they put 300 or 600 units on that piece of property, which is what we've heard in the past, it would change the character of Riverwoods, even though it's on our western border. So I'm glad that it's not going that direction. I think that if it ended up getting sent to Buffalo Grove, which would be the other option, that maybe we could talk to them about something, just so that we could protect the residents that are on Thorn Meadow, because they're the ones that would see whatever was there. But that's just my comment. I mean, as many times as that property has been tried to be bought, it has not come to fruition for
so far
whatever reason. So anyways, that's just my comment about that piece of property.
Trustee Jamerson, we have developed, when I say we, I mean Director Esquez and I have developed a relationship with the village manager and so village planner and all those people at Buffalo Grove. So you can be sure that the Milwaukee Avenue corridor discussion has come up. And that is not the only large undeveloped property on Milwaukee Avenue that is concerning. So that's just an FYI.
Well, if it could be retail or have a significant retail component, I imagine the village would be interested at that point.
If it was something along those lines, yes, I would be very interested in it.
Yeah. So
I just think that it's a difficult piece of property to build on.
Difficult piece.
There's going to be issues with whatever's buried in the ground somewhere in the future. And we just have to make sure that if we do annex it, that we protect the village from having to repair water mains and sewer mains and everything else that's going to be shifting as that property shifts.
Absolutely.
On the Verizon matter, I just want to point out that they're still reviewing our last red line of the lease. They haven't actually signed the lease yet, but those are good steps to indicate that they're planning. They told us legal would get back to me shortly, but it takes them about 2 months for each turn, just based on prior experience. We've been working a lot with Lake County. They're at one of the committee of the whole meetings recently. We talked about the second intergovernmental agreement that they've prepared. It's now gone through 2 or 3 drafts. It's really kind of a smorgasbord. It's got agreements for us to pay a share of ongoing maintenance of traffic signals. Where the county has a traffic signal on a road that's part county and part village, such as Deerfield and Port Wine, we have a share of the cost of future maintenance. The same over where Capital One and Saunders intersect. They've never had a traffic signal maintenance agreement with us, so that's an item that's added. The agreement addresses our share of costs for sidewalks, for relocation of the water main, and the sewer main as part of the Deerfield Road widening project. That you've heard about, but now it also goes back to our earlier intergovernmental agreement and we tried to address some of the construction issues and coordination on the federal life. And where we seem to have landed is that the village will do the north detention basin. The county will do the south detention basin. So we won't be responsible for that part of the work. The amendment as it's prepared would call on us to try and get the plans finalized so that we can go out to bid and we can actually let a contract to do the work, this summer, fall. The county reimburses us for that part of the work. Then the county would do the south basin, and what is left in between is the access road. Part of the access road is handled by the county, but we'll probably do the work. In other words, we'll be paid by the county, the rough grading. We asked the county to consider, as part of the south basin, doing the finish course, the base course and finish course, curbs, sidewalks, and those improvements. And they said they didn't want to do that, which means that if I'm understanding correctly, we'll do the north basin, they'll do the south basin. We will have like the rough grading done, but we'll have to come back later after their work is done and add the finished course on the access road. So we're still kind of finalizing some of that. I'm just kind of indicating that there's another large agreement coming to the board at the next meeting. We'll try and get it to you early enough to review it. And I guess probably that's all I need to say tonight.
Are there any questions for our attorney? Okay, seeing none, moving on. Police report, Chief.
That I only have what's in the board packet.
Are there any questions for our chief?
Great report.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. And particularly thank you for all the work that you did and the way you responded at the last hearing. It was honorable. Thank you. Plan Commission report. You sure? The Zoning Board of Appeals did not meet. Fire District report. All right, Eric.
Do you need me to state my name? No, we're good. Okay. So first and foremost, thank you for involving us in your board meetings. So to the village, to the board, to the mayor, thank you for including us. I just got one item to discuss tonight, just to put on everybody's radar. We had a very productive meeting with Mayor Ford and her crew and our fire prevention, and we're working on a community risk reduction program that involves electric vehicles. So just for everyone in the room that is wondering, electrical vehicles are a wonderful thing and do good things for our environment, but when they're involved with fire, they are a big concern and a risk to everybody. So what we will be doing and what I'm asking is in the future, we're going to put on the website, Riverwood's website, is a form that everybody can fill out if they have an electrical vehicle at their residence. Because if they're charging in a garage, we need to know, because if the battery that is involved in the car is on fire, the water that we spray is an EPA concern, as well as the fire is probably not going to go out. So we'll probably have to call a towing company to extract that from the residents so we can put the fire out on the residents. So just to keep you aware that this is one of our initiatives and that it will be coming soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our deputy chief?
Let me know when that form's available. For sure.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you to the responders. Thank you for your service. Are there any did I ask if there were any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Too late. He left anyway. Information. We're going to make it through. Information items and comments from the president. I simply wanted to say that we have again signed the Monarch Pledge Proclamation, and our clerk will again help monitor and execute some of the activities that are called for under the Monarch Pledge. I want to say thank you for everybody filling out your statement of economic interests. That makes life so much easier. And that's all I have to say tonight. Visitors wishing to address the board on topics other than items, on items not on the agenda. On items not on the agenda. It's your turn. Did I tell you the Arbor Foundation sent a
Finally.
lovely letter addressed to Mayor Randy Merrill?
Yeah.
I know, I know. I'm like, really?
I told you had
Get her
job
in here.
security.
Yeah,
Don't you worry.
okay.
I did not put my name down as mayor, but I am the pretend mayor, president, RPC, Randy Merrill. I wanted to let everybody know that in a couple weeks on Saturday, May 16th, we have our native plant sale and Arbor Day celebration because we officially have our Tree City designation. Residents will be able to pick up their pre-orders and we're going to have lots of extra inventory so people can come by and shop some great native perennials. Also, we're going to be launching our PC's 2026 native seed mix. We will have several guests in attendance. Steve Zimmerman will be there so he can talk to the residents and encourage people to continue to get the ecological studies. He will also, of course, answer questions and maybe discuss some of the issues coming up about invasives and how people need to be addressed. We call it the 5 more than the 12. But in addition, we'll have Evan Shore from Bartlett Tree. He will be bringing tree saplings that'll help us honor our Arbor Day celebration and, of course, discuss tree health with any of the residents. Mary Fortman will be in attendance. She's from Open Lands, and she'll discuss natives, ecology, and offer consultations. I did actually check with Steve Zimmerman to see if she is in competition with him in any way, and I just never know. And he said no, that they actually work very well in partnership, and she refers a lot of people to come to him to do the ecological studies. So it is a good partnership. We have North Shore Mosquito Abatement District is not going to be in attendance, but they're giving us the new tick tweezers. They're not keys, the tick tweezers, and a little pouch that has a bit of first aid kits regarding bee stings and things of that nature. Also, resident Sarah Merritt, the frightful one a couple minutes ago, she's going to be selling locally grown vegetable plants so we can start our garden. She'll have tomatoes and peppers and zucchini. So a little different for us to do it here, but you can get everything in one stop. I wanted to tell you that I use Ion Water and it saved me because I was in California. I got a little notice. It said on 2 occasions, my water level, because you have to set it at a consistent, like when your water's running for 24 hours at a consistent gallonage, if that's the word, it notified me of an issue. I had a neighbor come over, and in fact, we did have to shut off the water to the house. So kudos to enlisting that. We really need to tell all residents about it. It saved us a lot. And then lastly, I just really want to thank the board for your thoughtful discussion here today on Quick Trip. It is an issue, it's sensitive. I realize that certainly there's monetary issues you have to be aware of, but I think that your discussion was very, very thoughtful, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the board? Randy? 2 Randys, okay.
No.
But no, yeah. Randy Effie, president of the Meadow Lake Homeowners Association, representing 57 homes. It's been brought up to my attention we've talked about this permanent gate, or not a gate, for fence that's surrounding the federal site. And it's either under construction or it's not under construction, but if it's not under construction, and who knows when it's ever going to be under construction, you just can't be looking at this thing for the next 10 years. I mean, there has to be some kind of finite date or something, which is reasonable, I think.
Yeah, Director Witt, would you like to comment on that, please?
Sure. Well, as you know, that fence went up prior to demolition work occurring for the Federal Life building, and it was really essential in order to keep people off that site during severe conditions of the building. The fence was decided to stay up until such time as we can get the North Basin taken care of. That is really the sole purpose of it at this point. That project is intending to move forward with bids probably being taken, I think, June or July in that area. And once the bids come in, the project gets done. It's part of our agreement with the county to get that work taken care of no later than December of this year. Once that project is done, we may or may not see a construction fence around the southwest basin. That's going to be more for between the village and the county. We have to decide how much of that gets fenced off now or later for the same reason. We don't want to have public access to a large hole in the ground that is not designed safely. That basin will have a safety shelf ultimately built in, but under construction, it won't have that safety measure. So we have to be cognizant of safety for people around that particular site, even though they shouldn't be wandering on it. But once the North Basin is done and graded and the landscape restored, then that fence will come down. So we anticipate
the North
by the end of the
Basin
year.
is the city.
I'm sorry?
The North Basin is by you guys?
The North Basin will be constructed by the village.
By the village. Okay.
So we have control on that. And we're under obligation at this point to complete that by December of this year. So I would anticipate that that fence stays up at least through the end of the year. There may be some thought to keeping it through spring so that the grass and any of the landscaping actually establishes. So it's really going to depend on how fast we can get the restoration work done on the landscape.
And what's holding it up to bring it out to December of this year to finish that, the North Basin?
I'm sorry?
Why is it going to take so long to do landscaping around?
It's government. It's the government.
It's the government?
It's the government. We have to get permit drawings, we have to get permits, we have to design, we have to bid it, we have to let it.
Yes,
We have to negotiate an intergovernmental agreement with the county. What are you talking about?
The drawings aren't done yet.
Thank you.
Basically,
Randy,
what it boils down
to answer your question, maybe a little more detail than what the attorney just gave to you. I appreciate his response.
Randy.
There is an awful lot of engineering that goes forth in trying to determine how much detention, and the majority of the detention that will be in that basin is going to cover what the county needs in order to keep that intersection at Deerfield and Milwaukee from flooding to a level that's higher than what the standards are. That discussion on how much, is it this much, is it that much? That has been ongoing for months, back and forth between not only the village engineer and the county engineer, also internally as far as what those numbers are. Those numbers have been decided, and then it has to go through the final engineering to make sure that we're excavating enough material in order to meet those volumes, which have to be certified once this is all said and done in order for the county to get money from the state or the feds in order to pay for that project. So it's right now, yes, it is government. It's county and it's village working together, trying to make this a little safer for pedestrian, and not only pedestrians, the traffic on Milwaukee and Deerfield, but also for your neighborhood as well, because that basin will take floodwaters that are coming to that intersection and capture that before, some of it at least, before it heads into your homes.
Is there anyone else something that's not on the agenda? Okay, moving on. Second item of new business, approval of an ordinance amending the intergovernmental agreement establishing the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County, Illinois regarding certain modifications of SWALCO member agency appointments. Do I have a motion for approval, please? Oh, it's an ordinance, isn't it? Jeez.
I make a motion that we waive first reading.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? Excuse me, same sign. Okay, do I have a motion for?
So moved.
Thank you. Second reading and approval.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Raff,
Aye.
Trustee Smith,
Aye.
Trustee Trevino,
Aye.
Trustee Clayton,
Aye.
Trustee Eastman,
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item of new business, approval of a resolution adopting a final subdivision plat and related documents for Chudy subdivision. Who would like to speak to this? Okay,
This is property, 2 lots on Duffy Lane, which are being combined into 3 lots. It's been before the Plan Commission. It meets all of our minimum area requirements. The plat of subdivision has found all of our legends for easements and other magic language. There's a separate document that obligates the owner to respect the wetland areas on the property and the wetland buffers. It's similar to the restrictive covenants that we put in place on other properties that have those kind of wetlands. So this is basically an approval of a plat of subdivision. There's an accompanying plat of easement because the rear of the property will connect across a lot that's in Lincolnshire, but happens to be owned by the same family as owns this property, and then connect into the storm sewer in Lincolnshire. There's an understanding with Lincolnshire that this is acceptable. This actually will solve a problem in the rear of this property that's been affecting a number of the lots back there. It's something that actually Pat Glynn dreamed up years ago to have this connection with Lincolnshire. And so the plat of easement would grant the rights to make that connection. The final document is the declaration that I mentioned with the wetland and wetland buffer restrictions. So we're just looking for an approval of the final plat of subdivision.
Do I have a motion for approval of the resolution, please?
So moved.
Second.
Not sure who was
Whichever.
which.
I
just pick
got Rick, I didn't.
Okay, then trustee Clayton seconded it. Okay.
But I have a
Is there any
question.
discussion?
Yes.
Oh, trustee Jamerson, thank you.
So I have a question on page 186 of 229 in the packet. Luckily, we didn't have to go through all the other pages.
Still have 50 to go.
I know. It shows the three lots. It shows two wetland areas, wetland area A, which is on the east side, and B, which is on the north side of the whole subdivision. But it only shows a 5-foot wetland buffer. And I know that when we did the subdivision on Saunders Road, I believe we made them put in a 50-foot buffer. And if you put a 50-foot buffer in here, you won't have lots 2 and 3. So I'm just curious if there's a reason why there's only a 5-foot buffer there?
There is a reason.
Can I hear what it is?
I'm hoping desperately that director remembers the reason, but I know Jed Anderson reviewed this, and
He's getting there.
Maybe they're poor quality wetlands. I don't know.
I think
He's getting there. He's getting there.
I'm going to defer this one to Engineer Smith.
Nice.
So yes, this was approved by our certified wetland specialist, and the buffer is based on the quality of the wetland and the topo around it and other things that come into the actual design of it. So correct, you have seen 20, 50, 100 based on the quality and also again, what's being developed and when the elevations within it. So therefore, Jed deemed a 5-foot just due to, these aren't the highest quality wetlands, but they are wetlands. So you want a little bit of buffer, plus with the development around it, they're single family homes, and we're gonna have the covenant of restriction that Attorney Hoover talked about. So therefore, that's why the buffer seems minimal, but realistically in the realm of this development, it's sensible.
Okay, and then I will assume that when the actual construction drawings come in and they show where they're going to put their silt fence, it's going to at least be out of that 5 feet. Okay.
Correct. It's going to be beyond the buffer. And then they will have to put in the signs, the little post that says no mowing, this is a wetland buffer, don't go past it. Those will all be installed along the perimeter as well, following these plans.
Okay.
Clayton, please.
Thank you.
I was also concerned about that, so thank you, trustee Jamerson. Also, I noticed that the easement runs through a portion of the wetland, the drainage and storm sewer easement. Does that mean that when we put in storm sewers there, that we're going to do what to the wetland?
Nothing.
Yeah,
It'll be pushed underground.
They'll be directionally drilled.
Okay. My second question was, in section 3C, I think it is, there was commentary on cash in lieu of land donation, and I had not seen that before, and I don't know what that is.
In the subdivision code, we have a requirement that for so many people, There'll be so many square feet of park land. It's just basically you're trying to create parkland for so many. This rarely comes up because we rarely have subdivisions. When we did the subdivision on Saunders at 1400 Saunders, Mr. Fortunato, so we calculated the number of new people that would be added. There's a formula based on the number of new lots being created. There was one lot there. As a result, there were 3 lots. So they were only adding 2 lots. So we multiply the number of, and it's all the formula is all in the subdivision code. We multiply that by the presumed value of an acre of land, and we come up with an amount of land that should have been dedicated for park. It's too small to be useful. So instead of taking a sliver of land we can't use, we accept the cash contribution.
Are there any other questions or comments? Oh, go ahead. Trustee Clayton.
I also was interested in the association part of this. It's an association of 2?
3.
3, okay.
That's different.
Okay, I guess I was going to be wondering why we can't, never mind.
But they need a 2/3 vote to get anything done. So 2 out of the 3 people have to agree to it.
Well, we do have this issue. We have required that there be easements for streets, and we have required that people address this because the street serves 3 lots. And so if we don't have some mechanism to step in and say you're denying access to the second owner or something, it's a problem.
Can't the neighboring association annex them in to their association?
May not be one.
Just don't. Depends on the zoning. Do we need a roll call for a resolution? Yeah, right? Roll call, please.
Trustee Smith,
Aye.
trustee Trevino,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Eastman,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson,
Aye.
and trustee Raff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item of business, approval of an agreement with HR Green for sustainability consulting services. Trustee Smith.
Sure. So thank you. So this is part of the sustainability plan. Director Vasquez did some research among the municipalities that are kind of in our neighborhood, so to speak. We were having difficulty finding either a consultant or a municipal partner to share a consulting, a sustainability coordinator with. We went down the path of talking with our human resource consultants. They didn't really have anybody. So we did end up speaking with HR Green, and they actually have a sustainability coordinator, so to speak. She has done work actually for their company. And then she's also heavily involved with municipalities, primarily in water management systems. So she's got a lot of municipal expertise. So we interviewed her, I think it was last week, I think it was last Tuesday. Mayor Ford, myself, Director Vasquez interviewed her. We were impressed. She had a lot of strong characteristics. She developed the sustainability plan for HR Green across all of their locations across the country. And I think it was something like 37 locations. She's actually monitoring, or her team or people that work with her are monitoring energy usage, paper usage, kind of all the things that we're looking for, not only in terms of just getting a sustainability plan off the ground, but also figuring out how to measure and success metrics. So we felt like she was a really good solution. She had a kind of a long history of, like I say, municipal experience. She's helped some municipalities with finding grants, obtaining grants, or grant acquisition, I think is the correct word. So once again, she felt like a really good person. She was energetic. She had clearly read our sustainability plan prior to the interview, knew a lot about it, had some ideas, had some immediate ideas on how to make it actionable quickly with quick success. So once again, kind of that low-hanging fruit that we've talked about, getting this off the ground, so to speak. And then I think the other key thing is, and I'll say this carefully, but it's also low risk. It's not hiring somebody, but a consultant, so we can continue using them or not using them at our convenience. Hopefully I said that.
Yeah, that was.
You get the idea. So anyways, along with my recommendation, along with Mayor Ford's recommendation and Director Vasquez, we recommend that we hire, her name is, I think it's pronounced Sylvia or Sylvia. Sylvia. The W throws me.
Yeah.
So anyways, we recommend that we hire HR Green to provide these services to us with her as the point of contact, our point of contact that will manage these things for us.
Trustee Jamerson,
I have a
please.
question. So do we have some kind of a budget for
Yes.
her services?
Yes. So based on the budget, based on the plan, the sustainability plan that we put together, we have created an agreement with HR Green. I don't know if it's executed or not. I would assume not at this point, Attorney Huvard, but which essentially matches that dollar amount. So we would spend no more, no less. Well, we could spend less, but certainly no more. And she would be hired kind of on an hourly basis, not to exceed.
It's a little disguised in the agreement, but the fee for the base services that we need
I
at the
see
top
it.
of the second page is
I see it.
is this. And then we acknowledge that she'll do other stuff for us.
Yeah, I see it. I didn't see it the first time. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Eastman, then Trustee Clayton. Thank you.
Just a related question on that. So does she have to do sort of a scope and budget? And then at what point does the village approve of that? Or if it's over a certain amount, does the board get to weigh in? How does that work in terms of scoping out, more detailed the work? Just village.
I think she had a whole list of the initial project to get through that 24,000. And I think after that, for example, when we have a development proposal, or for example, the Pomeroy Group were showing us the plan, the idea, because she has this experience, is to say, what can we ask the developer to do to make the plan more sustainable? So I don't think we would come to the board for every one of those. That's
what I wondered. Is there some, size of project?
I think the idea is to be able to use her.
Or is it, okay, or is it going to
The
be?
discussion earlier when we were talking about Quick Trip and asking for a review from our sustainability consultant, that's the additional that we would refer to. And having somebody on board like that could be very useful considering what's coming up. So, Trustee Clayton, did you have it?
At one point in time, if my memory is right, there was talk of the RPC offsetting some of the cost of this consultant or coordinator.
We have a budget item for it.
Pardon me?
We do have a budget item, a line item for sustainability services.
Yeah, so
So we would not be asking them for contribution.
Yep. Director Vasquez, that's correct, right? I think we talked about it at the budget meeting that we did include monies for this role.
I did increase the line item for professional services in the general fund in anticipation of having room for this position.
It's sort of a control feature too. So is there a motion to approve?
Motion to
We already
approve.
did? Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, roll call?
Yeah, we're spending
Oh,
money.
money, right. Okay, roll call, please. Sorry.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Raff.
Aye.
And Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Terrific. Next item, approval of a proposal for removal and replacement of the roof of the telecom building at the Ravinia Water Tower not to exceed $21,000. Director Witt, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is just essentially property maintenance issue for the equipment shelter, which houses up to 4 carriers. Currently, there are 2 carriers, AT&T and T-Mobile. Verizon will be looking to take over one of the previously occupied spaces. So this is just part of an ongoing maintenance issue. I don't think that building has probably had any maintenance work done on the exterior of the building since it was constructed in 2001. We're experiencing some leaks through the roof, which are affecting the masonry. There will be some tuck pointing done under a separate contract. We took care of some door issues for the Verizon space, but we feel that once we get this roof and the tuck pointing work taken care of, it should button that building up for quite some time. So what we're looking for is approval of a contract and not to exceed amount of 21,000 to Stuckey Construction Company to have the roof removed and replaced.
Is there a motion for approval, please?
So move.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Trustee
I just
Jamerson?
want to, I mean, it does say the cost is going to be borne by the tenants.
Yes, as part of the lease agreement, the cost of doing these repairs will be shared equally among the 3 tenants. So it's a net zero to us other than time
We have
coordination.
to spend the money first. Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Roll call.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Raff.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
The last item of new business is approval of the electronic sign policy. I think you've all seen it. We tried to incorporate the changes that were given. Are there any other suggestions or changes? Trustee Raff, please.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now, but I think we've discussed this before. There was a limit to the number of times that organizations could post.
Right.
And AA would certainly exceed that.
If you look at, well, it would be the last page. I don't have a page number. Time limits and display scheduling. Okay, very end there. It says organizations may be limited to a maximum number of 12
So
submissions.
the May is.
The
not-
may is the, yeah. Is there a motion for approval, please?
So move.
Second.
Is this a roll call too? No. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Same sign, thank you. No old business, committee reports, finance, trustee Clayton, please.
The Finance Committee met and had a very informative presentation from Wintrust Bank. And the committee unanimously decided to shift our banking relationships from Chase to Wintrust. That requires a bit of a transition, and we're going to have to pass a resolution in accordance with the bank. So we're going to wait until the audit is complete, and then we're going to get some help from Wintrust to undertake the transition. And so it looks like the timing of the change should be around July-ish. I would say that Wintrust offered some significant advantages to what we have now, and I think it will be financially beneficial to the village. That's it.
Trustee Jamerson,
Is
please.
that going to include our investment?
No.
No.
Okay. So that's going to stay with Chase? It's
JP
not-
Morgan.
Oh, JP Morgan. Well, that's Chase, basically.
I'm
It's the
sorry,
same thing.
I should not have jumped in.
Right?
Okay, all right.
Okay. So the investments will still stay with JP Morgan Chase.
And so Hal will still oversee those
Okay.
decisions.
So basically, we're just changing basically our checking and our day-to-day
Operations.
savings account.
Operational, all the operational finance.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions or comments, other comments for our trustee? Okay, moving on, legal and legislation. Trustee Eastman, please.
Nothing to report other than just to commend Mayor Ford and Director Witt for finally getting to the bottom of the Saunders Road IDOT issues. And hopefully there's a solid
Witt.
path forward
Director
there.
Witt.
So that would be good.
Director Witt. Any questions or comments for our trustee? Okay. Next, building and infrastructure. Trustee Jamerson, please.
The building permit report is in the thing. We're still getting a few re-roofs. The building department is still extremely busy and will continue to be so for the foreseeable future. So as I've said before, they do a yeoman's job, and we can't appreciate that enough. I think that's all I want to talk about.
Are there any questions or comments for our trustee? Okay, moving on, land use. Trustee Raff, please.
Yes, as Director Witt has already mentioned, we've had a discussion about the Port Wine project. And again, the next step would be probably to finding cost. I mean, until we understand what the costs are for the various segments, it's just too hard to move forward. We need to get some sort of cost assessment, and we'll get that and then come to the full board for discussion of how we want to proceed. We also talked about the Pomeroy Spa project, which is moving along, and we do expect that to have a positive outcome. The Deerfield Road project, in terms of our discussion about what sort of fencing, landscaping, et cetera, that we would like to develop to have available to the residents for them to review and then choose if they would like to proceed with some of those in their properties. We're sort of putting a little bit on hold right now in terms of proceeding. It's a long-term project in every sense of the word, as the Deerfield Road project in itself is a long-term project. So that's a little bit on hold. Also, still evaluating causes of the multiple water main breaks in Thorngate. There's been some assessment done already. We're looking for what the next steps are, and that will hopefully guide us in what the corrective stages are as well. And that's all.
I have a quick question.
Sure. Trustee Jamerson.
I have a question. It's probably not for Trustee Raff. It's probably for Director Witt. But someone tonight made the comment that the Deerfield Road project is supposed to start in 2026. Did we ever get that acknowledgement from the county?
The Deerfield Road project?
Yeah, the one that's going this way?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Our understanding is that it will get let probably in September, but we don't have a date that it's going to be set in stone yet. I don't anticipate that to start before 2027.
So originally, about 8 years ago, they said that the ComEd would be doing utility relocations the fall before they started construction. So if they're letting it in, there may be some utility. That's the question. I guess maybe if we could find out some more.
That's what they're letting.
They're letting the utility part?
I think they have to do that first.
Well, that's not going to happen then. They're going to be digging poles in January, but okay, thank you.
So if I may, they'll come in and in September go through their contracts. They have notion to us that the first thing is the utility locate. So realistically, when you actually start seeing road construction, it's going to be several months after they get all that stuff done. So correct, they do their utility relocates first. So you will see ComEd, everyone else in that area in January.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions for our trustee? Okay, Sustainability and Community Services, Trustee Smith, please.
Sure. So you already heard the update on sustainability. There's a slight tangent to that as well. There's a resident has expressed some concern about the ability for cost share for lesser celandine, if I'm saying that correctly. So we'd like to take that up within sustainability and actually have Steve, the village ecologists look at that to make sure that we're applying that appropriately. And then just in terms of, so that's kind of a bridge between sustainability and community services. And then also there's been some questions about some of the road repaving on some of the public roads that are not the major artery streets. And then the last thing I will mention is that we had a project, a resident suggested like a poetry reading at Village Hall on like once a month, something like that on Sundays. And we responded back to that resident, and they're investigating to see if there's somebody that can help them coordinate that as a village service, a village engagement activity. So more to come, but that's the update for now.
Are there any questions for our trustee? Okay, communications, Trustee Trevino, please.
Yes, we have been working on some of the initial learnings from the qualitative that would apply to the quantitative. And then second is the coding has begun. So that's a process. That's it.
Are there any questions for Trustee Clayton, please.
Do we have a firm idea of what the eventual product is going to be of all the work that you're doing? Is it going to be a roadmap of strategic investments for the village, or is it going to be sort of a feedback from the residents kind of a thing? Or I'm asking the question in the context of knowing that, as a comment that I want to make later during the board comments, is that we really need to get around to our strategic priorities. It's already May, and we still haven't spent much in the capital fund, and I'm trying to time this discussion with the work that you're doing. And I would like to have a clearer idea of, first of all, the timing of it, and second of all, what the end product is.
Well, in terms of the timing, the last time I think we discussed this, my best guess is that we would go into field for the study in early September, because doing it during the summer, you won't get a good percentage back because people are gone. Second, in terms of where we end up, there will be findings from the quantitative survey. So, we take it through, what did we learn, and combine that with the qualitative. So when we get the answers, we know some of the reasons why. That then sets the stage for what is the strategic discussion and plan that we need to put together based on that type of feedback.
Are there any other questions or comments for a trustee? Okay, board comments. Trustee Clayton. I assumed that you were.
Yes. Well,
you made mention.
Well, you could have called that Rick.
I don't know.
No, I have nothing. I know it's hard.
A few meetings ago, I don't remember exactly which one, the board decided to form a working group to look at the lighting ordinance. At some point or another, the board must have thought that it was something of a priority because we wanted to dedicate some resources to do that. The mayor very appropriately came back and said, wait, I don't have the resources to do that, and so we're going to take a slightly different course. If the board thought that that was a strategic priority, it is our responsibility to provide the resources to get that done. And it could have been referred to the Sustainability Committee. It could have been, we could have talked about hiring a consultant, but it's just an example. I don't mean to imply that the lighting ordinance should be a high priority. I don't know. But I do know that every time I get home at 8:30 from a board meeting, I feel like we've wasted an opportunity. I think we need to be cognizant. We have all these projects that we have talked about and listed. We have all the money set aside in the capital fund. We don't have any sense of, is connectivity the most important priority, given the land use survey that we had? Is there other infrastructure things outside of the water fund that are the most important priority? How are we going to provide the resources to get done with all the priority things that we have to do or that we have talked about? And it sounds like the strategic planning exercise, the thoroughness of it and the timing of it is going to take us some time to get to a conclusion. So I don't know whether it's appropriate to suggest that maybe the board needs to have some kind of a off-site meeting to do nothing more than discuss strategic priorities, and that we can lay out a sense of, I remember from the IML, you can't see this, but from the IML conference, there was a sense of what the role of the board is, what the role of the staff is. And up here on the left-hand corner, when it talks about purpose and vision and strategic goals, those are primarily the province of the board. And then once you get into priority action items, then it starts to get pretty split. And then when you get to projects and day-to-day work, then it becomes the responsibility of the staff. The staff can't prioritize their time unless the board has strategically prioritized what we think is important. And so and every time we then have a committee of the whole meeting, there's always another important subject to talk about, all of which is very understandable. But I think we need to carve out some time in whatever format is necessary to really sit down to whether it needs to be facilitated or whether we think we could do it ourselves, to really get a sense of what our priorities are. What capital investment programs do we want to undertake in 2026? We have some odd $4 million sitting in the capital fund. We have people who have asked us for certain amenities and improvements within the village, and yet the money still just sits there. So that's my request.
If I could just add, the idea of a retreat has been talked about, and I think you're exactly right. I think that the work that Trustee Trevino is doing, it's a refresher of the 2015 survey. The 2015 survey led to the development of a strategic plan, which was promptly put on the shelf. But I'm hoping this time it isn't. Right now, I think we're firefighting, to be absolutely truthful. And so we do need to set aside time. We do need to set aside, maybe it's a Saturday morning, maybe it's a, Tuesday, I don't know. But we do need to set aside that time, because the committee of the whole meetings, while they have been very helpful, they get targeted on the latest topic that pops up. So I completely agree with you. It's finding the right timing, and it's finding the time. So I think we do need a little bit more information to be developed. I know the focus groups have finished up, but that's a lot of stuff. So if everybody is nodding their heads like a retreat is a good idea, then I think that's, we ought to start thinking about when that might occur. Is that later on? Is that late in the summer? Is that in the fall? Is it, can people set aside a full Saturday morning? I mean, you'll get fed, but if you can set aside that kind of time, what kind of time, is available?
Sorry.
Well, that's fine. So at any rate, I completely agree. It's now let's figure out how to do it and the when. So we'll keep going with the committee of the whole meetings because they've been helpful, but they can't be the be all end all with this stuff.
Just as someone with an extensive strategic planning background, I really think that there's a way to facilitate this and move it forward in an orderly way so that we can get a sense of priorities.
Absolutely, Mike. Absolutely. But, like I said, right now we're kind of firefighting. There's a lot of work that we're doing that it's a transition to a professional staff is what I have to say.
So
Trustee Trevino, please, yes.
So what I just heard is that the last strategic plan was done after the 2015 study?
Yeah.
Has there been any other strategic?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Well, I would say in answer to that question that we really have three major balls sitting in the air. We have our comprehensive plan, we have our sustainability plan, and we have whatever shape the strategic plan is in. And those are the three legs of the stool that we need to prop up in order to get us to where I think we need to go. We've really done, I think, a very great job, in my personal opinion, on the comprehensive plan. I thought it was a lot of work went into it. And I think the sustainability plan is in great shape. So we need to just get this other leg of the stool where it needs to be.
And the hiring of the sustainability consultant will help us to kind of brush things up and maybe coordinate that with the comprehensive plan. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So thank you very much for that. Are there any other comments, please? Okay, no need for executive session, no need for actions. Could I have a quorum check, please? For next, the 19th, I see that Trustee Trevino will not be available and Trustee Clayton will not be available. Anybody else? Everybody else? So there's 4, okay.
Can I just add one final comment?
Oh, you can.
I really thought that the way the neighborhood came together and presented us with their thoughts with regard to the Quick Trip was done in a way that enhanced my belief in democracy in action. I think they were well reasoned, they were professional, and I just found it very persuasive in many ways about what they had to say. And I just thought it was excellent, the interchange and what they had to say.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night. And thank you.
Well, I was going to suggest maybe Arizona and